Bring forth these men, bushy and green. I will not vex your souls, since presently your souls must part your bodies, with too much urging your pernicious lives, for 'twere no charity. Yet, to wash your blood from off my hands, here in the view of men, I will unfold some causes of your deaths. You have misled a prince, a royal king, a happy gentleman in blood and lineaments. By you unhappied and disfigured clean. You have in manner with your sinful hours made a divorce betwixt his queen and him, broke the possession of a royal bed, and stained the beauty of a fair queen's cheeks with tears drawn from her eyes by your foul wrongs. Myself, a prince by fortune of my birth, near to the king in blood, and near in love, till you did make him misinterpret me, have stooped my neck under your injuries, and sighed my English breath in foreign clouds, eating the bitter bread of banishment, whilst you have fed upon my seigneuries, disparked my parks, and felled my forest woods, from my own windows torn my household coat, raised out my impress, leaving me no sign, save men's opinions and my living blood, to show the world I am a gentleman. This, and much more than twice all this, condemns you to the death. See them delivered over to execution and the hand of death.
More welcome is the stroke of death to me than Bolingbroke to England. Lords, farewell.
My comfort is that heaven will take our souls and plague injustice with the pains of hell.
My lord Northumberland, see them dispatched. Uncle, you say the queen is at your house. For God's sake, fairly let her be entreated. Tell her I send to her my kind commends. Take special care my greetings can be delivered.
A gentleman of mine I have dispatched, with letters of your love to her at large.
Thanks, gentle uncle. Come, lords, away to fight with Glendower and his complices. A while to work, and after, holiday.
Barklowly Castle call they this at hand.
Yea, my lord. How brooks your grace the air after your late tossing on the breaking seas?
Needs must I like it well. I weep for joy to stand upon my kingdom once again. Dear earth, I do salute thee with my hand, though rebels wound thee with their horses' hooves, as a long-parted mother with her child plays fondly with her tears and smiles in the meeting. So weeping, smiling greet I thee, my earth, and do thee favors with my royal hands. Feed not thy sovereign's foe, my gentle earth, nor with thy sweets comfort his ravenous sense, but let thy spiders that suck up thy venom and heavy-gated toads lie in their way, doing noyance to the treacherous feet, which with usurping steps do trample thee. Yield stinging nettles to mine enemies, and when they from thy bosom pluck a flower, guard it, I pray thee, with a lurking adder, whose double tongue may with a mortal touch throw death upon thy sovereign's enemies. Mock not my senseless conjurations, lords. This earth shall have a feeling, and these stones prove armed soldiers, ere her native king shall falter under foul rebellion's arms.
Fear not, my lord, that power that made you king hath power to keep you king in spite of all. The means that heavens yield must be embraced and not neglected, else heaven would, and we will not. Heaven's offer we refuse, the proffered means of succor and redress.
He means, my lord, that we are too remiss, whilst Bolingbroke through our security grows strong and great in substance and in power.
Discomfortable cousin, knowest thou not that when the searching eye of heaven is hid behind the globe that lights the lower world, then thieves and robbers range abroad unseen in murders and in outrage boldly here? But when from under this terrestrial ball he fires the proud tops of the eastern pines and darts his light through every guilty hole, then murderers, treasons, and detested sins, the cloak of night being plucked from off their backs, stand bare and naked, trembling at themselves. So when this thief, this traitor Bolingbroke, who all this while hath reveled in the night while we were wandering with the Antipodes, shall see us rising in our throne the east, his treasons will sit blushing in his face, not able to endure the sight of day, but self-affrighted, tremble at his sin. Not all the water in the rough, rude sea can wash the balm off an anointed king. The breath of worldly men cannot depose the deputy elected by the Lord. For every man that Bolingbroke hath pressed to lift shrewd steel against our golden crown, God for his Richard hath in heavenly pay a glorious angel. Then if angels fight, weak men must fall, for heaven still guards the right. Welcome, my lord. How far off lies your power?
Nor near nor farther off, my gracious lord, than this weak arm. Discomfort guides my tongue and bids me speak of nothing but despair. One day too late, I fear me, noble lord, hath clouded all thy happy days on earth. Oh, call back yesterday, bid time return, and thou shalt have 12,000 fighting men. Today, unhappy day too late, overthrows thy joys, friends, fortune, and thy state. For all the Welshmen, hearing thou wert dead, are gone to Bolingbroke, dispersed and fled.
Comfort, my liege. Why looks your grace so pale?
But now the blood of 20,000 men did triumph in my face, and they are fled. And till so much blood thither come again, have I not reason to look pale and dead? All souls that will be safe fly from my side, for time hath set a blot upon my pride.
Comfort, my liege. Remember who you are.
I had forgot myself. Am I not king? Awake, thou coward majesty, thou sleepest. Is not the king's name 20,000 names? Arm my name. A puny subject strikes at thy great glory. Look not to the ground, ye favorites of a king. Are we not high? High be our thoughts. I know my uncle York hath power enough to serve our turn. But who comes here?
More health and happiness betide my liege than can my care-torn tongue deliver him.
Mine ear is open, and my heart prepared. The worst is worldly lost thou canst unfold. Say, is my kingdom lost? Why, 'twas my care. And what loss is it to be rid of care? Strives Bolingbroke to be as great as we? Greater he shall not be. If he serve God, we'll serve him too, and be his fellow so. Revolt our subjects, that we cannot mend. They break their faith to God as well as us. Cry woe, destruction, ruin, and decay. The worst is death, and death will have his day.
Glad am I that your highness is so armed to bear the tidings of calamity, like an unseasonable stormy day, which makes the silver rivers drown their shores, as if the world were all dissolved to tears. So high above his limits swells the rage of Bolingbroke, covering your fearful land with hard, bright steel, and hearts harder than steel. White beards have armed their sin and hairless scalps against thy majesty. Boys with women's voices strives to speak, big and clap their female joints in stiff and wealthy arms against thy crown. Thy very beadsmen learn to bend their bows of double fiddle you against thy state. Yea, these staff women and manage rusty bills against thy seat. Both young and old rebel, and all goes worse than I have power to tell.
Too well thou tell'st a tale so ill. Where is the Earl of Wiltshire? Where is Bagot? What has become of Bushy? Where is Green, that they have let the dangerous enemy measure our confines with such peaceful steps? If we prevail, their heads shall pay for it. I warrant they have made peace with Bolingbroke.
Peace have they made with them indeed, my lord.
Ah, villains, vipers, damned without redemption, dogs easily won to fawn on any man. Snakes in my heart blood warm that sting my heart. 3 Judases, each one thrice worse than Judas. Would they make peace? Terrible hell make war upon their spotted souls for this.
Sweet love, I see, changing his property turns to the sourest and most deadly hate. Again, anchors their souls. Their peace is made with heads and not with hands. Those whom you curse have felt the worst of death's destroying wound, and lie full low, graved in the hollow ground.
Is Bushy Green and the Earl of Wiltshire dead?
Aye, all of them at Bristol lost their heads.
Where is the Duke my father with his power?
No matter where. Of comfort no man speak. Let's talk of graves, of worms, and epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Let's choose executors and talk of wills, and yet not so, for what can we bequeath save our deposited bodies to the ground? Our lands, our lives, and all are Bolingbroke's. And nothing can we call our own but death, and that small model of the barren earth which serves as paste and cover to our bones. For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings, how some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered. For within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court, and there the antic sits, scoffing his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene to monarchize, be feared, and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh which walls about our life were brass impregnable, and humored thus comes at the last, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king. Cover your heads, and mock not flesh and blood with solemn reference. Throw away respect, tradition, form, and ceremonious duty, for you have but mistook me all this while. I live with bread, like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me I am a king?
My lord, wise men ne'er sit and wail their woes, but presently prevent the ways to wail, to fear the foe, since fear oppresseth strength, gives in your weakness strength unto your foe, and so your follies fight against yourself. Fear and be slain, no worse can come to fight, and fight and die is death destroying death, where fearing dying pays death's servile breath.
My father hath a power. Inquire of him, and learn to make a body of a limb.
Thou chidest me well. Proud Bolingbroke, I come to change blows with thee for our day of doom. This ague fit of fear is overblown. An easy task it is to win our own. Say, Scroop, where lies our uncle with his power? Speak sweetly, man, although thy looks be sour.
Men judge by the complexion of the sky, the state and inclination of the day. So may you by my dull and heavy eye, my tongue has but a heavier tale to say. I play the tortoral by small and small, to lengthen out the worst that must be spoken. Your uncle York is joined with Bolingbroke, and all your northern castles yield up, and all your southern gentlemen in arms upon his party.
Thou hast said enough. Beshrew thee, cousin, which didst lead me forth of that sweet way I was into despair. What say you now? What comfort have we now? By heaven, I'll hate him everlastingly that bids me be of any comfort any more. Go to Flint Castle, there I'll pine away. A king's woe's slave, shall kingly woe obey. That power I have, discharge and let them go, to ear the land that hath some hope to grow, for I have none. Let no man speak again, to alter this, for counsel is but vain.
My liege, one word.
He does me double wrong that wounds me with the flatteries of his tongue. Discharge my followers. Let them hence away from Richard's night to Bolingbroke's fair day.
So that by this intelligence we learn the Welshmen are dispersed, and Salisbury is gone to meet the king, who lately landed with some few private friends upon this coast.
The news is very fair and good, my lord. Richard, not far from hence, hath hid his head.
It would beseem the Lord Northumberland to say, King Richard. Alack the heavy day when such a sacred king should hide his head.
Your grace mistakes. Only to be brief left I his title out.
The time hath been when you have been so brief with him, it would have been so brief with you to shorten you, for taking so the head, your old head's length.
Mistake not, uncle, further than you should.
Take not, good cousin, further than you should, lest you mistake the heavens are o'er our heads.
I know it, uncle, and oppose not myself against their will. But who comes here? Welcome, Harry. What, will not this castle yield?
The castle royally is manned, my lord, against thy entrance.
Royally? Why, it contains no king.
Yes, my good lord, it doth contain a king. King Richard lies within the limits of yon Lyman stone, and with him are the Lord O'Merrill, Lord Salisbury, Sir Stephen Scrope, besides a clergyman of holy reverence, who I cannot learn.
Oh, belike it is the Bishop of Carlisle.
Noble lord, go to the rude ribs of that ancient castle. Through brazen trumpets send the breath of parley into his ruined ears, and thus deliver. Henry Bolingbroke on both his knees doth kiss King Richard's hands, and sends allegiance and true faith of heart to his most royal person. Hither come even at his feet to lay my arms and power, provided that my banishment repealed and lands restored again be freely granted. If not, I'll use the advantage of my power and lay the summer's dust with showers of blood rained from the wounds of slaughtered Englishmen. The which, how far off from the mind of Bolingbroke, it is such crimson tempest should bedrench the fresh green lap of fair King Richard's land, my stooping duty tenderly shall show. Go signify as much, while here we march upon the grassy carpet of this plain. Let's march without the noise of threatening drum, that from this castle's tattered battlements our fair appointments may well be perused. Methinks King Richard and myself should meet with no less terror than the elements of fire and water, when their thundering shock at meeting tears the cloudy cheeks of heaven. Be he the fire, I'll be the yielding water. The rage be his, whilst on the earth I rain my waters, on the earth and not on him. March on and mark King Richard, how he looks. See, King Richard doth himself appear, as doth the blushing discontented sun from out the fiery portal of the east, when he perceives the envious clouds are bent to dim his glory and to stain the track of his bright passage to the Occident.
Yet looks he like a king. Behold his eye, as bright as is an eagle's, lightens forth control and majesty. Alack for woe, that any arm should stain so fair a show.
We are amazed, and thus long have we stood to watch the fearful bending of thy knee, because we thought ourselves thy lawful king. And if we be, how dare thy joints forget to pay their awful duty to our presence? If we be not, show us the hand of God that hath dismissed us from our stewardship. For we well know no hand of blood and bone can grip the sacred handle of our scepter, unless he do profane, steal, or usurp. And though you think that all, as you have done, have torn their souls by turning them from us, and we are barren and bereft of friends, yet know my master, God, omnipotent, is mustering in his clouds on our behalf, armies of pestilence. And they shall strike your children yet unborn and unbegot, that lift your vassal hands against my head, and threat the glory of my precious crown. Tell Bolingbroke, for yon methinks he stands, that every stride he makes upon my land is dangerous treason. He is come to open the purple testament of bleeding war, but ere the crown he looks for live in peace. 10,000 bloody crowns of mothers' sons shall ill become the flower of England's face, change the complexion of her made pale peace to scarlet indignation, and bedew her pastor's grass with faithful English blood.
The King of Heaven forbid our Lord the King should be so with civil and uncivil arms rushed upon. Thy thrice noble cousin Harry Bolingbroke doth humbly kiss thy hand, and by the honorable tomb he swears that stands upon your royal grandsire's bones, and by the royalties of both your bloods, currents that spring from one most gracious head, and by the buried hand of warlike Gaunt, and by the worth and honor of himself, comprising all that may be sworn or said, his coming hither hath no further scope than for his lineal royalties, and to beg enfranchisement immediate on his knees, which on thy royal party granted once his glittering arms, he will commend to rust, his barbed steeds to stables, and his heart to faithful service of your majesty. This swears he as he is a prince and just, and as I am a gentleman, I credit him.
Northumberland say thus: the king returns, his noble cousin is right welcome hither, and all the number of his fair demands shall be accomplished without contradiction. With all the gracious utterance thou hast, speak to his gentle hearing, kind commends. We do debase ourselves, cousin, do we not? To look so poorly and to speak so fair. Shall we call back Northumberland and send defiance to the traitor, and so die?
No, my good lord. Let's fight with gentle words till time lend friends, and friends their helpful swords.
God. O God, that ere this tongue of mine that laid the sentence of dread banishment on yon proud man should take it off again with words of sooth. Oh, that I were as great as is my grief, or lesser than my name, or that I could forget what I have been, or not remember what I must be now. Swellest thou, proud heart, I'll give thee scope to beat, since foes have scope to beat both thee and me.
Northumberland comes back from Bolingbroke.
What must the king do now? Must he submit? The king shall do it. Must he be deposed? The king shall be contented. Must he lose the name of king, a god's name? Let it go. I'll give my jewels for a set of beads, my gorgeous palace for a hermitage, my gay apparel for an almsman's gown, my figured goblets for a dish of wood, my scepter for a palmer's walking staff, my subjects for a pair of carved saints, and my large kingdom for a little grave, a little grave, an obscure grave, or I'll be buried on the king's highway, some way of common trade where subjects' feet may hourly trample on their sovereign's head. For on my heart they do tread whilst I live. And buried once, why not upon my head? O Merle, thou weepest, my tender-hearted cousin. We'll make foul weather with despised tears. Our sighs, and they shall lodge the summer corn, and make a dearth in this revolting land. Or shall we play the wantons with our woes, and make some pretty match with shedding tears, as thus to drop them still upon one place, till they have fretted us a pair of graves within the earth, and therein laid there lies two kinsmen, digged their graves with weeping eyes. Would not this ill do well? Well, I see. I talk but idly, and you laugh at me. Most mighty prince, my lord Northumberland, what says King Bolingbroke? Will his majesty give Richard leave to live till Richard die? You make a leg, and Bolingbroke says I.
My lord, in the base court he doth attend to speak with you. May it please you to come down.
Down. Down I come like glistering Phaethon, wanting the manage of unruly jades, in the base court, where kings grow base to come at traitors' calls and do them grace. In the base court. Come down, down court, down king, For night owls shriek where mounting larks should sing.
What says his majesty?
Sorrow and grief of heart makes him speak fondly like a frantic man, yet he has come.
Stand all apart and show fair duty to his majesty. My gracious lord.
Fair cousin, you debase your princely need to make the base earth proud with kissing it. Me rather had my heart feel your love than my unpleased eye see your courtesy. Up, cousin, up. Your heart is up, I know. Thus high at least, although your knee be low.
My gracious lord, I come but for my own.
Your own is yours, and I am yours, and all.
So far be mine, my most redoubted lord, as my true service shall deserve your love.
Well you deserve. They well deserve to have that know the strongest and surest way to get. Uncle, give me your hands. Nay, dry your eyes. Tears show their love, but want their remedies. Cousin, I am too young to be your father, though you are old enough to be my heir. What you will have I'll give, and willing too. For do we must what force will have us do. Set on towards London, cousin, is it so?
Yea, my good lord.
Then, I must not say no.
What sport shall we devise here in this garden to drive away the heavy thought of care?
Madam, we'll play at bowls.
'Twill make me think the world is full of rubs, and that my fortune rubs against the bias.
Madam, we'll dance.
My legs can keep no measure in delight, when my poor heart no measure keeps in grief. Therefore no dancing, boy, some other sport.
Madam, we'll tell tales.
Of sorrow or of joy?
Of either, madam.
Of neither, boy. For of joy being altogether wanting, it doth remember me the more of sorrow, or if of grief being altogether had, it adds more sorrow to my want of joy. For what I have I need not to repeat, and what I want it boosts not to complain.
Madam, I'll sing.
'Tis well that hast cause, but thou shouldst please me better. Wouldst thou weep?
I could weep, madam. Would it do you good?
And I could sing, would weeping do me good, and never borrow any tear of thee? But stay, here come the gardeners. Let's step into the shadow of these trees. My wretchedness unto the row of pins. They will talk of state, for everyone does go against a change. Woe is for one with woe.
So, bind thou up young dangling apricots, which like unruly children make their sire stoop with oppression of their prodigal weight. Give some supportance to the bending twigs. Go thou, and like an executioner, cut off the heads of two fast-growing sprays that look too lofty in our commonwealth. All must be e'en in our government. You, thus employed, I will go root away the noisome weeds, which without profit suck the soil's fertility from wholesome flowers.
Why should we, in the compass of the pale, keep law and form and due proportion, showing as in a model our firm estate, when our sea-walled garden, the whole land, is full of weeds, her fairest flowers choked up, her fruit trees all unpruned, her hedges ruined, her knots disordered, and her wholesome herbs swarming with caterpillars?
Hold thy peace. He that hath suffered this disordered spring hath now himself met with the fall of leaf. The weeds which his broad spreading leaves did shelter, that seemed in eating him to hold him up, are plucked up, root and all, by Bolingbroke. The Earl of Wiltshire, Bushy, Green.
What, are they dead?
They are. And Bolingbroke hath seized the wasteful king. Oh, what pity is it that he hath not so trimmed and dressed his land as we this garden. We at time of year do wound the bark, the skin of our fruit trees, lest being over proud in sap and blood with too much riches it confound itself. Had he done so to great and growing men, they might have lived to bear, and he to taste their fruits of duty. Superfluous branches we lop away, that bearing boughs may live. Had he done so, himself had borne the crown, which waste of idle hours hath quite thrown down.
What? Do you think then the king shall be deposed?
Depressed he is already, and deposed 'tis doubt he will be. Letters came last night to a dear friend of the good Duke of York's that tell black tidings.
Oh, I am pressed to death through wanting of speaking. Thou, old Adam's likeness, set to dress this garden, how dares thy harsh rude tongue sound this unpleasant news? What Eve, what serpent has suggested thee to make a second fall of a cursed man? Why dost thou say Richard is deposed? Darest thou, little better thing than earth, divine his downfall? Say, where, when, and how camest thou by this ill tidings? Speak, thou wretch.
Pardon me, madam, little joy have I to breathe this news. If what I say is true, King Richard he is in the mighty hold of Bolingbroke. Their fortunes both are weighed. In your lord's scale is nothing but himself and some few vanities that make him light. But in the balance of great Bolingbroke, besides himself are all the English peers, and with that odds he weighs King Richard down. Post you to London, and you will find it so. I speak no more than everyone doth know.
Nimble mischance, that art so light of foot, doth not thy embassage belong to me, and am I last that knows it? Oh, thou thinkest to serve me last, that I may longest keep thy sorrow in my breast. Come, ladies, go to meet at London, London's king and woe. What was I born to this, that my sad look should grace the triumph of great Bolingbroke? Gardener, for telling me this news of woe, pray God the plants thou graft'st may never grow.
Poor queen, so that thy state might be no worse, I would my skill were subject to thy curse. Here did she fall a tear. Here in this place I'll set a bank of rue, sour herb of grace. Rue even for Ruth, here shortly shall be seen, in the remembrance of a weeping queen.
Call forth Bagot. Now, Bagot, freely speak thy mind. What thou dost know of noble Gloucester's death? Who wrought it with the king, and who performed the bloody office of his timeless end?
Then set before my face the Lord O'Merrill.
Cousin, stand forth and look upon that man.
My Lord O'Merrill, I know your daring tongue scorns to unsay what it once hath delivered. In that dead time, when Gloucester's death was plotted, I heard you say, is not my arm of length that reacheth from the restful English court as far as Calais to mine uncle's head? Amongst much other talk that very time, I heard you say that you had rather refuse the offer and 100,000 crowns than Bolingbroke's return to England, adding withal how blessed this land would be in this your cousin's death.
Princes and noble lords, what answer shall I make to this base man? Shall I so much dishonor my fair stars on equal terms to give him chastisement? Either I must or have mine honor soiled with the attainder of his slanderous lips. There is my gage, the manual seal of death that marks thee out for hell. I say thou liest, and will maintain what thou hast said is false in thy heart blood, though being all too base to stain the temper of my knightly sword.
Bagot, forbear. Thou shalt not take it up.
Excepting one, I would he were the best in all this presence that have moved me so.
If that thy valor stand on sympathy, there is my gage, Almerle, engaged to thine. By that fair sun which shows me where thou standest, I heard thee say, and vauntingly thou spakest it, that thou wert cause of noble Gloucester's death. If thou deniest it 20 times, thou liest, and I will turn thy falsehood to thy heart, where it was forged with my rapier's point.
Thou darest not, coward, live to see that day.
Now, by my soul, I would it were this hour.
Fitzwater, thou art damned to hell for this.
Merrill, thou liest. His honor is as true in this appeal as thou art all unjust. And that thou art so there, I throw my gage to prove it on thee to the extremest point of mortal breeding. Seize it if thou darest.
And if I do not, may my hands rot off, never more brandish revengeful steel over the glittering helmet of my foe.
I task the earth to the like, forsworn Almerle, and spur thee on with full as many lies as may be hollowed out in thy treacherous ear from sun to sun. There is my honor's pawn. Engage it to the trial if thou darest.
Who sets me else? By heaven, I'll throw it all. I have 1,000 spirits in one breast to answer 20,000 such as you.
My lord Fitzwater, I do remember well the very time Almerle and you did talk.
'Tis very true. You were in presence then, and you can witness with me that this is true.
As false, by heaven, as heaven itself is true.
Surrey, thou liest.
Dishonorable boy, thou lie shall lie so heavy on my sword that it shall render vengeance and revenge till thou, the lie giver, and that lie do lie in earth, as quiet as thy father's skull. In proof whereof, there is my honor's pawn. Engage it to the trial if thou darest.
How fondly dost thou spur a forward horse! If I dare eat or drink or breathe or live, I dare meet Surrey in a wilderness and spit upon him whilst I say he lies and lies and lies. There is my bond of faith to tie thee to my strong correction. As I intend to thrive in this new world, Almerle is guilty of my true appeal. Besides, I heard the banished Norfolk say that thou, Almerle, did send 2 of thy men to execute the noble Duke at Calais.
Some honest Christian, trust me with the gage, that Norfolk lies here, I do throw down this, if he may be repealed to try his honor.
These differences shall all rest under gage till Norfolk be repealed. Repealed he shall be, and though mine enemy, restored again to all his lands and seigneuries. When he is returned against Almerle, we will enforce his trial.
That honorable day shall never be seen. Many a time hath banished Norfolk fought for Jesu Christ in glorious Christian field, streaming the ensign of the Christian cross against black pagans, Turks, and Saracens, and toiled with works of war, retired himself to Italy, and there at Venice gave his body to that pleasant country's earth, and his pure soul unto his captain Christ, under whose colours he had fought so long.
Why, Bishop, is Norfolk dead?
As surely as I live, my lord.
Sweet peace conduct his sweet soul to the bosom of good old Abraham. Lords appellants, your differences shall all rest under gage till we assign you to your days of trial.
Great Duke of Lancaster, I come to thee from plume-plucked Richard, who with will and soul adopts the heir, and his high sceptre yields to the possession of thy royal land. Ascend his throne, descended now from him, and long live Henry, 4th of that name.
In God's name I'll ascend the regal throne.
Marry, God forbid. Worst in this royal presence may I speak, yet best beseeming me to speak the truth. Would God that any in this noble present were enough noble to be upright judge of noble Richard, then true noblesse would learn him forbearance from so foul a wrong. What subject can give sentence on his king? And who sits here that is not Richard's subject? Thieves are not judged, but they are by to hear, although apparent guilt be seen in them. And shall the figure of God's majesty, his captain, steward, deputy-elect, anointed, crowned, planted many years, be judged by subject and inferior breath, and he himself not present? Oh, forfend God that in a Christian climate souls refined should show so heinous black obscene deed. I speak to subjects, and a subject speaks. stirred up by God thus boldly for his king. My lord of Hereford here, whom you call king, is a foul traitor to proud Hereford's king. And if you crown him, let me prophesy, the blood of English shall manure the ground, and future ages groan for this foul act. Peace shall go to sleep with Turks and infidels, and in this seat of peace tumultuous war shall kin with kin and kind with kind confound. Disorder, horror, fear, and mutiny shall here inhabit, and this land be called the field of Golgotha and dead men's skulls. Oh, if you raise this house against this house, it will the woefulest division prove that ever fell upon this cursed earth. Prevent it, resist it, let it not be so, lest child's children, cry against you woe.
Well have you argued, sir, and for your pains of capital treason, we arrest you here.
What?
My lord of Westminster, be it your charge to keep him safely until his day of trial. May it please you, lords, to grant the common suit?
Fetch hither Richard, that in common view he may surrender. So we shall proceed without suspicion.
I will be his conduct.
Lords, you that here are under our arrest, procure your sureties for your days of answer. Little are we beholding to your love, and little looked for at your helping hands.
Alack, why am I sent for to a king before I have shook off the regal thoughts wherewith I reigned? I hardly have yet to learn to insinuate, flatter, bow, and bend my knee. Give sorrow leave a while to tutor me to this submission. Yet I well remember the favors of these men. Were they not mine? Did they not sometimes cry, all hail, to me? So Judas did to Christ. But he in 12 found truth in all but one. I in 12,000, none. God save the king. Will no man say amen? Am I both priest and clerk? Well then, amen. God save the king, although I be not he. And yet, amen, if heaven do think him me. To what service am I sent for hither?
To do that office of thine own good will, which tired majesty did make thee offer, the resignation of thy state and crown to Henry Bolingbroke.
Give me the crown. Here, cousin, seize the crown. Here, cousin, on this side, my hand, and on that side, thine. Now is this crown like a deep well that owes 2 buckets, filling one another, the emptier ever dancing in the air, the other down, unseen and full of water. That bucket down and full of tears am I, drinking my griefs, whilst you mount up on high.
I thought you had been willing to resign.
My crown I am, but still my griefs are mine. You may my glories and my state depose, but not my griefs. Still am I king of those.
Part of your cares you give me with your crown.
Your cares set up, do not pluck my cares down. My care is loss of care, by old care done. Your care is gain of care, by new care won. The cares I give I have, though given away. They tend to the crown, yet still with me they stay.
Are you contented to resign the crown?
I know. No. For I must nothing be. Therefore no. No, for I resign to thee. Now mark me, how I will undo myself. I give this heavy weight from off my head, and this unwieldy scepter from my hand, the pride of kingly sway from out my heart. With mine own tears I wash away my balm. With mine own hands I give away my crown. With mine own tongue deny my sacred state. With mine own breath release all duteous oaths. All pomp and majesty I do forswear. My manners, rents, revenues I forgo. My acts, decrees, and statutes I deny. God pardon all oaths that are broke to me. God keep all vows unbroke are made to thee. Make me that nothing have, with nothing grieved, and thou with all pleased that hast all achieved. Long mayst thou live, in Richard's seat to sit, and soon lie Richard in an earthly pit. God save King Henry, unkinged Richard says, and send him many years of sunshine days. What more remains?
No more, but that you read these accusations and these grievous crimes committed by your person and your followers against the state and profit of this land, that by confessing them the souls of men may deem that you are worthily deposed.
Must I do so? Must I ravel out my weaved up follies? Gentle Northumberland, if thy offences were upon record, would it not shame thee in so fair a troop to read a lecture of them? If thou wouldst, there shouldst find one heinous article containing the deposing of a king, and cracking the strong warrant of an oath, marked with a blot, damned in the book of heaven. Nay, all of you that stand and look upon me, whilst that my wretchedness doth bate myself, though some of you with Pilate wash your hands, showing an outward pity, yet you Pilates, here have delivered me to my sour cross, and water cannot wash away your sin.
My lord, dispatch. Read o'er these articles.
Mine eyes are full of tears. I cannot see. And yet salt water blinds them not so much, but they can see a sort of traitors here. Nay, if I turn mine eyes upon myself, I find myself a traitor with the rest. For I have given here my soul's consent to undeck the pompous body of a king, made glory base and sovereignty a slave, proud majesty a subject, state a peasant.
My lord.
No lord of thine, thou haught insulting man, nor no man's lord. I have no name, no title, no not that name that was given me at the font, but 'tis usurped, alack the heavy day, that I have worn so many winters out and know not now what to call myself. Oh, that I were a mockery king of snow standing before the son of Bolingbroke, to melt myself away in water drops. Good king, great king, and yet not greatly good. And if my word be sterling yet in England, let it command a mere hither straight, that it may show me what face I have, since it is bankrupt of his majesty.
Go some of you and fetch a looking glass.
Read o'er this paper while the glass doth come.
Fiend, thou torments me ere I come to hell.
Urge it no more, my lord Northumberland.
The commons will not then be satisfied.
They shall be satisfied. I'll read enough when I do see the very book indeed where all my sins are writ, and that's myself. Give me that glass, and therein will I read. No deeper wrinkles yet. Hath sorrow struck so many blows upon this face of mine and made no deeper wounds? Oh, flattering glass, like to my followers in prosperity, thou dost beguile me. Was this the face that every day under this household roof did keep 10,000 men? Was this the face that like the sun did make beholders wink? Is this the face which faced so many follies, that was at last outfaced by Bolingbroke? A brittle glory shineth in this face, as brittle as the glory is the face. For there it is, cracked in 100 shivers. Mark, silent king, the moral of this sport, how soon my sorrow hath destroyed my face.
The shadow of your sorrow hath destroyed the shadow of your face.
Say that again. The shadow of my sorrow. Let's see. 'Tis very true. My grief lies all within, and these external manners of laments are merely shadows to the unseen grief that swells with silence in the tortured soul. There lies the substance. And I thank thee, king, for thy great bounty that not only givest me cause to wail, but teachest me the way how to lament the cause. I'll beg one boon, and then be gone and trouble you no more. Shall I obtain it?
Name it, fair cousin.
Fair cousin. I am greater than a king. For when I was a king, my flatterers were then but subjects. Being now a subject, I have a king here to my flatterer. Being so great, I have no need to beg.
Yet ask.
And shall I have?
You shall.
Then give me leave to go.
Whither?
Whither you will, so I were from your sights.
Go some of you. Convey him to the tower.
Oh, good. Convey. Conveyors are you all, that rise thus nimbly by a true king's fall.
On Wednesday next, we solemnly proclaim our coronation. Lords, be ready all.
A woeful pageant have we here beheld. The woes to come. The children yet unborn shall feel this day as sharp to them as thorn.
You holy clergymen, is there no plot to rid the realm of this pernicious blot?
My lord, before I freely speak my mind therein, you shall not only take the sacrament to bury mine intents, but also to effect whatever I shall happen to devise. I see your brows are full of discontent, your hearts of sorrow, and your eyes of tears. Come home with me to supper. I will lay a plot shall show us all a merry day.
This way the king will come. This is the way to Julius Caesar's ill-erected tower, to whose flint bosom my condemned lord is doomed a prisoner by proud Bolingbroke. Here let us rest, if this rebellious earth have any resting for her true king's queen. But soft, but see, or rather do not see, my fair rose wither. Yet look up, behold, that you in pity may dissolve to dew, and wash him fresh again with true love tears. Ah, thou the model where old Troy did stand, thou map of honor, thou King Richard's tomb, and not King Richard, thou most beauteous sin. Why should hard-favored grief be lodged in thee, when triumph is become an alehouse guest?
Join not with grief, fair woman, do not so, to make my end too sudden. Learn, good soul, to think our former state a happy dream, from which we awake the truth of what we are, shows us but this. I am sworn brother sweet to grim necessity, and I will keep a league till death. Hie thee to France, and cloister thee in some religious house. Our holy lives must win a new world's crown, which our profane hours here have thrown down.
What is my Richard both in shape and mind, transformed and weakened? Hath Bolingbroke disposed thine intellect? Hath he been in my heart? The lion dying trusteth forth his paw, and wounds the earth, if nothing else with rage, to be o'erpowered. And wilt, thy principle, take the correction mildly, kiss the rod, and fawn on it, rage with base humility, which art a lion and a king of beasts?
A king of beasts, indeed. If aught but beasts, I had been still a happy king of men. Good sometimes queen, prepare thee hence for France. Think I am dead, and that even here thou takest as from thy deathbed thy last living leave. It winter's tedious nights sit by the fire with good old folks, and let them tell thee tales of woeful ages long ago betide. And ere thou bid good night, to quiet their griefs, tell thou the lamentable tale of me, and send the hearers weeping to their beds. For why the senseless brands will sympathize the heavy accent of thy moving tongue, and in compassion weep the fire out, and some will mourn in ashes, some coal black, for the deposing of a rightful king.
My lord, the mind of Bolingbroke is changed. You must to Pomfret, not unto the tower. And madam, there's order ta'en for you. With all swift speed, you must away to France.
Northumberland, the ladder wherewithal, the mounting Bolingbroke ascends my throne. The time shall not be many hours of age, more than it is ere foul sin, gathering head, shalt break into corruption. Thou shalt think Though he divide the realm and give thee half, it is too little him helping him to all. He shall think that thou, which knowest the way to plant unrightful kings, wilt know again, being ne'er so little urged another way, to pluck him headlong from the usurped throne. The love of wicked men converts to fear, that fear to hate, and hate turns one or both to worthy danger and deserved death.
My guilt be on my head, and there an end. Take leave and part, for you must part forthwith.
Doubly divorced. Bad men, you violate a twofold marriage twixt my crown and me, and then betwixt me and my married wife. Let me kiss the oath twixt thee and me, and yet not so, for with a kiss 'twas made. Part us, Northumberland, I towards the north, where shivering cold and sickness pines the clime. My wife to France, from whence she set and forth in pomp. She came adorned hither like sweet May, sent back like Hallowmas or shortest of day.
And must we be divided? Must we part?
Aye, hand from hand, my love, and heart from heart.
Banish us both and send the king with me.
That were some love, but little policy.
Then whither he goes, thither let me go.
So two together weeping make one woe. Weep thou for me in France, I thee here. Far better off than near, be near than ne'er. Go count thy way with sighs, I mine with groans.
So longest way shall have the longest moans.
Twice for one step I'll groan, the way being short, and piece the way out with a heavy heart. Come, come. In wooing sorrow, let's be brief, since wedding it there is such length in grief. One kiss shall stop our mouths and dumbly part. Thus give I mine, and thus take I thy heart.
Give me my own again, 'twere no good part. To take on me, to keep and kill thy heart. So now I have mine own again. Begone, that I may strike to kill it with a groan.
We make woe wanton with this fond delay. Once more adieu. The rest let sorrow say.
My lord, you told me you would tell the rest when weeping made you break the story off of our two cousins coming into London.
Where did I leave?
At that sad stop, my lord, where rude, misgoverned hands from windows tops threw dust and rubbish on King Richard's head.
Then, as I said, the Duke, great Bolingbroke, mounted upon a hot and fiery steed, which his aspiring riders seemed to know, with slow but stately pace kept on his course, whilst all tongues cried, God save thee, Bolingbroke. You would have thought the very windows spake, so many greedy looks of young and old through casements darted their desiring eyes upon his visage, and that the walls with painted imagery had said at once, Jesu preserve thee, welcome Bolingbroke, whilst he, from the one side to the other turning, bareheaded, lower than his proud steed's neck, bespake them thus, I thank thee, countrymen, and thus still doing, he passed along.
Alack, poor Richard, where rode he the whilst?
As in a theatre, the eyes of men after a well-graced actor leaves the stage, or idly bent on him that enters next, thinking his prattle to be tedious, e'en so, or with much more contempt, men's eyes did scowl on gentle Richard. No man cried, God save him. No joyful tongue gave him his welcome home. But dust was thrown upon his sacred head, which with such gentle sorrow he shook off, his face still combating with tears and smiles the battles of his grief and patience. That had not God For some strong purpose steeled hearts of men, they must perforce have melted, and barbarism itself have pitied him. But heaven hath a hand in these events, to whose high purpose we bound our calm contents. To Bolingbroke are we sworn subjects now, whose state and honour eye for eye allow.
Here comes my son O'Merrill.
O'Merrill that was, but that is lost, for being Richard's friend. And, madam, you must call him Rutland now. I am in Parliament pledged for his truth and lasting fealty to the new made king.
Welcome, my son. Who are the violets now that strew the green lap of the new-come spring?
Madam, I know not, nor I greatly care not. God knows I had as lief be none as one.
Well, bear ye well in this new spring a time, lest ye be crapped before you come to prime. What's news from Oxford? Do these jousts and triumphs hold?
For aught I know, my lord, they do.
You will be there, I know.
If God prevent not, I purpose so.
What seal is that hangs without thy bosom? Yea, look'st thou pale? Let me see the writing.
My lord, 'tis nothing.
No matter then, who see it? I will be satisfied. Let me see the writing.
I do beseech your grace to pardon me. It is a matter of small consequence, and I may not, which for some reason I would have not seen.
Which for some reason, sir, I mean to see. I fear.
What should you fear? 'Tis nothing but some bond that he has entered into for gay apparel against the triumph day.
Bound to himself. What doth he with a bond that he is bound to? Wife, thou art a fool. Boy, let me see the writing.
I do beseech you, pardon me, I may not show it.
I will be satisfied. Let me see it. Treason, foul treason, villains, traitor, slave.
What is the matter, my lord?
Oh, who's within there? Saddle my horse. God for his mercy, what treasure is here?
Why, what is it, my lord?
Give me my boots, I say. Saddle my horse. Now, by mine honour, by my life, by my troth, I will appeach the villain.
What is the matter?
Peace, foolish woman.
I will not peace. What is the matter, O'Merrill?
Good mother, be content. It is no more than my poor life must answer.
Thy life answer?
Bring me my boots. I will unto the king.
Strike him, O'Merrill. Poor boy, thou art amazed. Hence, villain, nevermore come in my sight.
Give me my boots, I say.
Why, York, what wilt thou do? Wilt thou not hide the trespass of thine own? Have we more sons, or are we like to have? Is not my teeming date drunk up with time? And wilt thou pluck my fair son from mine age, and rob me of a happy mother's name? Is he not like thee? Is he not thine own?
Thou fond mad woman, wilt thou conceal this dark conspiracy? A dozen of them have ta'en the sacrament, and interchangeably sit down their hands to kill the king at Oxford.
He shall be none. We'll keep him here. Then what is that to him?
Away, fond woman. Were he 20 times my son, I would appeach him.
Hadst thou groaned for him as I have done, thou wouldst be more pitiful. But now I know thy mind. Thou dost suspect that I have been disloyal to thy bed, and that he is a bastard, not thy son. Sweet York, sweet husband, be not of that mind. He is as like thee as a man may be, not like to me or any of my kin, and yet I love him.
Make way, unruly woman.
After O'Merrill, mount thee upon his horse, spur, post, and get before him to the king, and beg thy pardon ere he do accuse thee. I'll not be long behind, though I be old. I doubt not but to ride as fast as York, and never will I rise up from the ground till Bolingbroke hath pardoned thee. Away, be gone!
Can no man tell me of my unthrifty son? 'Tis full 3 months since I did see him last. If any plague hang over us, 'tis he. I would to God, my lords, he might be found. Inquire at London, monks the taverns there. For there, they say, he daily doth frequent with unrestrained loose companions. E'en such, they say, as stand in narrow lanes, and beat our watch, and rob our passengers, which he, young, wanton, and effeminate boy, takes on the point of honor to support so dissolute a crew.
My lord, some 2 days since I saw the prince and told him of those triumphs held at Oxford.
And what said the gallant?
His answer was he would unto the stews, aside from the commonest creature, pluck a glove and wear it as a favor. And with that he would unhorse the lustiest challenger.
As dissolute as desperate, yet through both I see some sparks of better hope, which elder years may happily bring forth. But who comes here?
Where's the king?
What means our cousin that he stares and looks so wildly?
God save your grace. I do beseech your majesty to have some conference with your grace alone.
Withdraw yourselves and leave us here alone. What is the matter with our cousin now?
Forever may my knees grow to the earth, my tongue cleave to my roof within my mouth, unless a pardon ere I rise or speak.
Intended or committed was this fault? If on the first, how heinous ere it be to win thy after love, I pardoned thee.
Then give me leave that I may turn the key that no man enter till my tale be done.
Have thy desire.
My liege, beware, look to thyself. Thou hast a traitor in thy presence there.
Villain, I'll make thee safe.
Stay thy revengeful hand, thou hast no cause to fear.
Open the door, secure fool art a king, or shall I for love speak treason to thy face? Open the door, or I will break it open.
What is the matter, uncle? Speak, recover breath. Tell us how near is danger that we may arm us to encounter it.
Peruse this writing here, and thou shalt know the treason that my haste forbids me show.
Remember as thou readest thy promise past, I do repent me. Read not my name there, my heart is not confederate with my hand.
It was, villain, ere thy hand did set it down. I tore it from the traitor's bosom, king. Fear and not love begets his penitence. Forget to pity him, lest thy pity prove a serpent that will sting thee to thy heart.
Oh, heinous, strong, and bold conspiracy! A loyal father of a treacherous son, thou sheer immaculate and silver fountain, from whence this stream through muddy passages hath held his current and defiled himself. Thy overflow of good converts to bad, and thy abundant goodness shall excuse this deadly blot in thy digressing son.
So shall my virtue be his vice's bawd, and he shall spend mine honour with his shame, as thriftless sons their scraping father's gold. Mine honour lives when his dishonour dies, or my shamed life in his dishonour lies. Thou kill'st me in his life, giving him breath. The traitor lives, the true man's put to death.
What ho, my liege, for God's sake, let me in.
What shrilled voiced suppliant makes this eager cry?
A woman and thy aunt, great king, 'tis I. Speak with me, pity me, open the door. A beggar begs that never begged before.
Our scene is altered from a serious thing, and now changed to the beggar and the king. My dangerous cousin, let your mother in. I know she has come to pray for your foul sin.
If thou do pardon whosoever pray, more sins for this forgiveness prosper may. This festered joint cut off, the rest rest sound. This let alone will all the rest confound.
O king, believe not this hard-hearted man. Love loving it not itself, none other can.
Thou frantic woman, what dost thou make here? Shall thy old dogs once more a traitor rear?
Sweet York, be patient. Hear me, gentle liege.
Rise up, good aunt.
Not yet, I thee beseech. Forever will I walk upon my knees, and never see day that the happy sees, till thou give joy, until thou bid me joy by pardoning Rutland, my transgressing boy.
Unto my mother's prayers I bend my knee.
Against them both my true joints bended be. Ill mayst thou thrive if thou grant any grace.
Pleads he in earnest? Look upon his face. His eyes do drop no tears. His prayers are in jest. His words come from his mouth, ours from our breast. He prays but faintly and would be denied. We pray with heart and soul and all beside. His weary joints would gladly rise, I know. Our knees shall kneel to the ground they grow. His prayers are full of false hypocrisy, ours of true zeal and deep integrity. Our prayers do outpray his, then let them have that mercy which true prayer ought to have.
Good aunt, stand up.
Nay, do not say stand up. Say pardon first, and afterwards stand up. And if I were thy nurse, thy tongue to teach, pardon should be the first word of thy speech. I never longed to hear a word till now. Say pardon, king, let pity teach thee how. The word is short, but not so short as sweet. No word like pardon for king's mouth so meet.
Speak it in French, king. Say, pardonnez-me.
Dost thou teach pardon, pardon to destroy? Ah, my sour husband, my hard-hearted lord, that sets the word itself against the word. Speak pardon as 'tis current in our land. The chopping French we do not understand. Thine eye begins to speak. Set thy tongue there. Or in thy piteous heart plant thou thine ear, that hearing how our plaints and prayers do pierce, pity may move thee pardon to rehearse.
Good aunt, stand up.
I do not sue to stand. Pardon is all the suit I have in hand.
I pardon him as God shall pardon me.
Oh, happy vantage of a kneeling knee! Yet I am sick for fear. Speak it again. Twice saying pardon doth not pardon twain, but makes one pardon strong.
With all my heart I pardon him.
A God on earth thou art.
But for our trusty brother-in-law and the abbot, with all the rest of that consorted crew, destruction straight shall dog them at the heels. Good uncle, help to order several powers to Oxford, or wherever these traitors are. They shall not live within this world, I swear, but I will have them if I once know where. Uncle, farewell, and cousin, adieu. Your mother well hath prayed, and prove you true.
Come, my old son, I pray God make thee new.
Ah, but sighs that come from my heart, they grieve me passing sore, sith I must from my love depart. Farewell, my joy forevermore. Oft to me with her goodly face she was wont to cast an eye, and now absence to me in place. Alas, for woe I die, I die.
Didst thou not mark the king, what words he spake? Have I no friend will rid me of this living fear? Was it not so?
Those were his very words.
Have I no friend, quoth he. He spake it twice, and urged it twice together, did he not?
He did.
And speaking it, he wishfully looked on me, as who should say, I would thou wert the man that would divorce this terror from my heart, meaning the king at Pomfret. Come, let's go. I am the king's friend, and will rid his foe.
I have been studying how I may compare this prison where I live unto the world. And for because the world is populous, and here is not a creature but myself, I cannot do it. Yet I'll hammer it out. My brain I'll prove the female to my soul the father, and these two beget a generation of still breeding thoughts. And these same thoughts people this little world, in humors, like the people of this world. For no thought is content the better sort, as thoughts of things divine are intermixed with scruples, and do set the word itself against the word, as thus, come little ones. And then again, it is as hard to come as for a camel to thread the postern of a small needle's eye. Thoughts tending to ambition, they do implot unlikely wonders, how these vain, weak nails may tear a passage through the flinty ribs of this hard world, my ragged prison walls, and, for they cannot, die in their own pride. Thoughts tending to content flatter themselves that they are not the first of fortune's slaves, nor shall not be the last, like seely beggars who, sitting in the stocks, refuge their shame, that many have, and others must sit there. And in this thought they find a kind of ease, bearing their own misfortunes on the back of such as have before endured the like. Thus play I, in one person many people, and none contented. Sometimes am I king, then treasons make me wish myself a beggar, and so I am. Then crushing penury persuades me I was better when a king, and then I am kinged again, and by and by think that I am unkinged by Bolingbroke, and straight am nothing. But whate'er I be, nor I nor any man that but man is, with nothing shall be pleased till he be eased with being nothing. Music do I hear? Keep time. How sour sweet music is when time is broke and no proportion kept. So is it in the music of men's lives. And here I have the daintiness of ear to check time broke in a disordered string, but for the concord of my state and time, had not an ear to hear my true time broke. I wasted time, and now doth time waste me. For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar their watches on into mine eyes. The outward watch whereto my finger, like a dial's point, is pointing still and cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans which strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, times, and hours. But my time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy, while I stand fooling here, his jack of the clock. This music mads me. Let it sound no more, for though it have holp madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet, blessing on his heart that gives it me, for 'tis a sign of love, and love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world.
Hail, royal prince!
Thanks, noble peer. The cheapest of us is 10 groats too dear. What art thou, and how comest thou hither where no man ever comes, but that sad dog that brings me food to make misfortune live?
I was a poor groom of thy stable, king, when thou wert king, who, traveling towards York with much ado at length, have gotten leave to look upon my sometimes royal master's face. Oh, how it earned my heart when I beheld in London streets that coronation day, when Bolingbroke rode on roan Barbary, that horse that thou so often hast bestrid, that horse that I so carefully have dressed.
Rode he on Barbary? Tell me, gentle friend, how went he under him?
So proudly as if he disdained the ground.
So proud that Bolingbroke was on his back. That jade hath ate bread from my royal hand. This hand hath made him proud with clapping him. Would he not stumble? Would he not fall down, since pride must have a fall, and break the neck of that proud man that did usurp his back? Ugh. Forgiveness, horse. Why do I rail on thee? Since thou created to be awed by man, wast born to bear. I was not made a horse, and yet I bear a burden like an ass, spurred, galled, and tired by jouncing Bolingbroke.
Fellow, give place. Here is no longer stay.
If thou love me, 'tis time thou wert away.
What my tongue dares not, that my heart shall say.
My lord, will it please you to fall too?
Taste of it first, as thou art wont to do.
My lord, I dare not. Sir Pierce of Exton, who lately came from the king, commands the contrary.
The devil take Henry of Lancaster, and thee! Patience is stale, and I am weary of it. How now? What means death in this rude assault? Villain, thine own hands yields thy death instrument! Go now, and fill another room in hell! That hand shall burn in never-quenching fire that staggers thus my person. Exton, thy fierce hand hath with the king's blood stained the king's own land. Mount, my soul, thy seat is up on high. Why, whilst my gross flesh sinks downward, here to die.
As full of valor as of royal blood, both have I spilled. Oh, would the deed were good. For now the devil that told me I did well says that this deed is chronicled in hell. This dead king to the living king I'll bear. Take hence the rest, and give them burial here.
Kind Uncle York, the latest news we hear is that the rebels have consumed with fire our own town of Ciceter in Gloucestershire. But whether they be taken or slain, we hear not. Welcome, my lord. What is the news?
First, to thy sacred state wish I all happiness. The next news is I have to London sent the heads of Salisbury, Spencer, Blunt, and Kent. The manner of their taking may appear at large discoursed in this paper here.
We thank thee, gentle Percy, for thy pains, and to thy worth will add right worthy gains.
My lord, I have from Oxford sent to London the heads of Brocas and Sir Bennet Seeley, two of the most dangerous consorted traitors that sought at Oxford thy dire overthrow.
Thy pains, Fitzwater, shall not be forgot. Right noble is thy merit, well I wot.
The grand conspirator abbot of Westminster, with clog of conscience and sour melancholy, hath yielded up his body to the grave. But here is Carlisle living, to abide thy kingly doom and sentence of his pride.
Carlisle, this is your doom. Choose out some secret place, some reverent room, more than thou hast, and with it joy thy life. So as thou livest in peace, die free from strife. For though mine enemy thou hast ever been, high sparks of honor in thee have I seen.
Great king, within this coffin I present thy buried fear. Herein all breathless lies the mightiest of thy greatest enemies, Richard of Bordeaux, by me hither brought.
Exton, I thank thee not, for thou hast wrought a deed of slander with thy fatal hand upon my head and all this famous land.
From your own mouth, my lord, did I this deed.
They love not poison that do poison need, nor do I thee. Though I did wish him dead, I hate the murderer, love him murdered. The guilt of conscience take thou for thy labor, but neither my good word nor princely favor. With Cain go wander through shades of night, and never show thy head by day nor light. Lords, I protest my soul is full of woe, that blood should sprinkle me to make me grow. Come mourn with me for that I do lament, and put on sullen black incontinent. I'll make a voyage to the Holy Land, to wash this blood from off my guilty hand. March sadly after, grace my mornings here, in weeping after this untimely bier.
I was wont her to behold, and take in arms twain, and now with sighs manifold, farewell, my joy and welcome pain. Ah, methink that should I yet, as would to God I might, there would no joys compare with it, unto my heart to make it light.